She only came to watch her son graduate. That's all. A proud mom, in a simple blue top and jeans, trying to get just a little closer to the parade deck. But then, a Marine captain spots her in a restricted area, and everything changes in a heartbeat. You won't believe what happens when he grabs her arm, and one hidden tattoo turns the entire base upside down. Stay with me, because this story of quiet courage will hit you right in the chest. Ma'am, this is a restricted area. The voice was young, sharp, and utterly devoid of warmth. A Marine captain stood blocking her path. He was tall, with a jawline that looked like it had been carved from granite, and the crispest uniform Brenda had ever seen. His name taped red haze. He held a hand up, palm flat, a gesture of absolute authority. Brenda gave him a polite, apologetic smile. I'm sorry, Captain. I was just trying to get a little closer to the parade deck. My son is graduating today. I understand, he said, though his tone suggested he didn't. But this path is for official personnel only. The family viewing area is back with the grandstands. He gestured vaguely with his chin, his eyes scanning her as if she were a potential security breach. He saw a woman in her 40s, long blonde hair tied back against the humidity, a simple top and jeans. A mom. Nothing more. Of course, Brenda replied, her voice even. I'll head back. She turned to leave, but the captain took a step to the side, subtly blocking her again. Ma'am, I'm going to need to see your visitor's pass, he stated, his voice hardening slightly. Brenda's smile didn't waver, but a stillness settled over her. She'd felt this before, the quiet, patronizing dismissal, the assumption that she was just a civilian who didn't understand the rules. She reached into her purse, retrieved the folded paper pass, and handed it to him. Captain Hayes took it and examined it with unnecessary scrutiny, holding it up to the light as if checking for a watermark. He studied her photo, then looked back at her face, his gaze lingering for a moment too long. Brenda Lowe, he read aloud. And you're here for recruit Adam Lowe. Look, ma'am, we have to be very careful. This is a secure military installation. You can appreciate that. I can, she agreed, her calmness a stark contrast to his coiled tension. I was stationed here for a few months, a long time ago. I know the protocol. This seemed to irritate him further. The idea that this woman in her bright blue top had any connection to this sacred ground beyond being a mother was, to him, preposterous. He saw her as a security risk wrapped in a polite maternal package. Stationed here as what? A contractor? A spouse? Neither, Brenda said simply. His patience, already thin, snapped. With all due respect, ma'am, your status doesn't matter. What matters is that you are in an area you are not authorized to be in. I've given you a lawful order to return to the viewing area. If you fail to comply, I will have you escorted by the Provost Marshal's office. The threat hung in the humid air between them. A few families walking nearby slowed their pace, their curiosity piqued by the sight of a rigid officer confronting a calm, unassuming woman. Brenda could feel their eyes on her. The public nature of it was a familiar sting, a small humiliation she had endured in various forms for years. She just wanted to see her son graduate, to not cause a scene, to simply be a proud mother for one day. Captain, she said, her voice dropping to a low, reasonable tone. I heard your order. I am complying. There is no need for threats. It's not a threat. It's a statement of procedure, he countered, puffing his chest out slightly. Frankly, your attitude is concerning. I'm going to need to see some government-issued photo identification. Your driver's license. Brenda sighed internally, a quiet breath of exasperation. This was theater now, a performance of authority for his own benefit. She reached into her purse again and produced her wallet, pulling out her state driver's license. He took it from her, his fingers brushing hers, and began a meticulous comparison. He looked at her face, the license, her face again. Everything in order, Captain? Brenda asked, her voice still infuriatingly level. Why were you really down this path, Mrs. Lowe? He pressed, ignoring her question. The bathrooms are clearly marked in the other direction. This path leads directly to the student barracks, and the regimental command post. It's the last place a family member should be wandering. I made a mistake. I apologize, she said. I'm not sure I believe that, Hayes said, his voice low. He motioned to a young lance corporal walking by. Get over here, Marine. The young man, barely older than her son, snapped to attention. Sir, I want you to stand by. This individual is failing to comply and may need to be escorted to PMO. Hayes announced it loud enough for the gathering onlookers to hear clearly. The humiliation was now a hot flush on Brenda's neck. Her son was on that parade deck, about to become a Marine. And here she was, being publicly shamed by an officer who couldn't see past her blonde hair and civilian clothes. Captain, you are making a serious mistake, she said, her voice losing its gentle edge for the first time. It wasn't a threat, but a simple, cold statement of fact. The only mistake here, ma'am, was you leaving the grandstands. He took a step toward her. Now give me your arm. We're going to take a walk. He reached out and placed his hand firmly on her forearm to guide her away. As his fingers closed around her arm, the sleeve of her royal blue top slid up a few inches. And that's when he saw it. On the inside of her wrist, partially hidden by her watch band, was a tattoo. It was stark, professional, in black ink. A caduceus, the twin snakes of medicine, coiled tightly around a K-bar, the iconic fighting knife of the Marine Corps. Below the image, in small, precise lettering, 2 words and a date. Phantom Fury, November 14th, 04. As the captain stared at the ink on her skin, the scene around him seemed to blur. For a split second, the humid Carolina air turned bone-dry cold. The smell of salt marsh vanished, replaced by dust, cordite, and blood. He heard the phantom echo. Corpsman up! 50 yards away, Gunnery Sergeant Evans was keeping families off the grass. He noticed the commotion, saw Hayes grab the woman's arm, saw her sleeve ride up. Even from that distance, his trained eyes caught the flash of black ink, the knife, the snakes. He started walking fast. Close enough now to read the words. Phantom Fury. Gunnery Sergeant Evans stopped dead. He knew that tattoo. It wasn't official. It was sacred. A blood pact given only to a handful of Navy corpsmen who fought house to house with Marines in the deadliest battle of the Iraq War. Evans didn't hesitate. He pulled his phone and called the one man who needed to know, right now. The depot sergeant major. Sergeant Major, this is Gunny Evans down at the parade deck. Sir, I apologize for the direct call, but we have a situation. It's Captain Hayes. He's got a woman detained. A civilian guest. Sergeant Major, it's Doc Lowe. Silence. Then are you certain, Gunny? I'm looking at the K-bar caduceus on her wrist right now, Sergeant Major. It's her. And Captain Hayes is about to put her in cuffs. Keep him there. Do not let him move her. The colonel is on his way. Inside the command building, Colonel Thompson was already pulling her file. A young Brenda in Navy cover stared back from the screen. Then the awards loaded: Navy Achievement, Purple Heart, and the Silver Star. The citation began to scroll. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action against the enemy. While serving as a hospital corpsman. Operation Phantom Fury, Fallujah, Iraq. November 14, 2004. When a rocket-propelled grenade struck the building, collapsing the roof and wounding 6 Marines. Petty Officer Lowe, with complete disregard for her own safety, charged through enemy machine gun fire into the rubble. For 3 hours she moved from casualty to casualty, shielding them with her own body, applying life-saving treatment. She single-handedly held pressure on a severed femoral artery for over an hour, refusing relief until the Marine was evacuated. The Marines of Kilo Company called her the Angel of the Block. Back at the path, Captain Hayes still had no idea. He looked at the tattoo and thought, wannabe ink. More proof she was trouble. A mistake, ma'am? The only mistake was mine in thinking you would listen to reason. He turned to the lance corporal. Go get flex cuffs from the vehicle. To Brenda he said, I am officially detaining you for trespassing and failure to obey a lawful order. Your son can hear about his mother's arrest after he graduates. Brenda held his gaze, profound disappointment in her eyes. You really have no idea what you're doing, do you, son? And right then, a black command vehicle glided to the curb, silent as a predator. Doors opened. Out stepped Colonel Thompson, the base commander, the depot's sergeant major, and a female major. They ignored Captain Hayes completely. Their eyes locked on Brenda Lowe. The colonel walked straight to her, stopped 3 feet away. He looked at Hayes's hand still on her arm, and Hayes yanked it back like he'd been burned. Then the colonel snapped to attention, and rendered the sharpest salute anyone had ever seen. Doc Lowe. It is an absolute honor to have you aboard Marine Corps Recruit Depot Paris Island. Ma'am. The sergeant major and the major saluted too. The colonel turned, voice booming so every soul could hear. For those of you who do not know, this woman is a Navy Silver Star recipient. She is not just a guest. She is a hero to this Corps. On November 14, 2004, in Fallujah, then Petty Officer Lowe ran through machine gun and rocket fire to save 6 wounded Marines. She treated them alone, under fire, in a collapsed building, for 3 straight hours. The Marines of Kilo Company don't call her Petty Officer Lowe. They call her the Angel of the Block. That K-bar and caduceus on her wrist. It's a mark of honor given to her by the Marines she saved. A mark of honor, Captain, that you saw fit to dismiss and disrespect. Across the parade deck, Brenda's son Adam saw everything. He watched the base commander salute his mom. The colonel turned to Captain Hayes, voice now a lethal whisper. Captain, you will report to my office at 1500 hours. Bring a pen and a notebook. We are going to have a very long discussion about leadership, judgment, and the mortal sin of failing to recognize a giant standing right in front of you. Dismissed. Brenda stepped forward gently. Colonel, with all due respect, sir. The captain was attempting to enforce security protocols. The rules are not the problem. She looked at Hayes. The problem is the assumptions we make before we apply the rules. We are taught to see the uniform, not the person. But sometimes we need to learn to see the person, even when the uniform has been put away long ago. Later, at the reception, a very different Captain Hayes approached her. Ma'am, there is no excuse for my behavior. I was arrogant. I was unprofessional. And I was wrong. I am truly, deeply sorry. Apology accepted, Captain, she said softly. Let me give you one piece of advice. Before you check a person's ID, their pass, or the insignia on their collar, look them in the eyes first. You'll learn a lot more that way. The graduation went on, but the air had changed. Brenda Lowe was escorted to the seat of honor by the colonel himself. When Adam's platoon marched past, he looked at his quiet, humble mom, and finally understood who she really was. Their hug after the ceremony held years of unspoken history. And in the months that followed, a new training block appeared for every junior officer at Paris Island. About veteran recognition, situational awareness, and never judging by appearances again. It was never officially named after that day. But everyone knew. Brenda Lowe's story reminds us. Heroes rarely announce themselves. Their valor isn't written in headlines. It's written in the lives they saved, and in the quiet respect they earned in the crucible of combat. To honor all our veterans, and to hear more stories of unassuming courage. Like and subscribe to Stories of Valor. Your support keeps these vital legacies alive.